I love it. I love it. I love it.
You know it's going to be a bad night when you have to bring your sword.
Yeah, right. I was gonna bring a
Pirate Commissioner.
Oh, it's like a horde.
You gotta light this. Gotta light this.
Yeah,
thing up.
yeah.
Gotta light it up.
I had a helmet. I had this is like a helmet pad. Oh, I was like,
Good evening and welcome to the Board of Commissioners zoning public hearings. It is October 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. I would request that all people please silence your cell phones and all other electronic devices. At this time, I request that Commissioner Dutton lead us in the invocation and Commissioner Johnson lead us in the pledge to the flag.
please join me in the invocation. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, Father, we're humbled to be able to come before you tonight and work as thy civil servants here in Spalding County. Father, we ask a blessing tonight of all those who are still at work, all those that are downtown, the children and their families. Father, please bless them with safety, with health, that no harm or danger will come to them while they're out trick-or-treating tonight. And we ask the same for Halloween night itself when they're out trick-or-treating around the neighborhoods. Father, bless us with health and wisdom, that thy Spirit will be here with us, that it can guide us. Father, we ask these blessings humbly in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 4, public hearings. Persons desiring to speak must sign in for the appropriate application. When called, speakers must state their name and addresses and direct all comments to the board only. Speakers will be allocated 3 minutes to speak on their chosen topics as they relate to matters being considered by the Board of Commissioners on this agenda. No questions will be asked by any of the commissioners during citizen comments. Outbursts from the audience will not be tolerated. Common courtesy and civility are expected at all times. We will do a number of public hearings, so everybody understands. We'll open them up on each one of the applications and then close them, then open them up to make sure that it stays clean as we go through. First public hearing this evening, application 24-30 Sierra, David and Donald Youngberg, owner, 99 East Mount Zion Road, approximately 2.25 acres, located in land lot 029 of the First Land District. The applicant is requesting a special exception to keep a manufactured home on the property. I would like to have a motion to enter into public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hands. All right, we are now in public hearing. Dr. Ledbetter, has somebody signed up to speak regarding 24-30 Sierra?
Yes, sir. Mr. Youngberg is here to speak on behalf of that application.
Welcome,
Hi,
sir.
yes. Good evening. My name's David Youngberg. I'm the owner of the property as well as my brother, which he's not here tonight. He's at work. I'm just here to oversee what we can do to get the mobile home passed to stay on the property so we can assemble it and move forward and move into it.
Okay. Thank you. All that's going to happen now, so everybody, I want to make sure everybody understands. We're going to listen to each of the applicants, then later on, we will go back, and then the staff and the commissioners will discuss each one of those. So, okay, sir?
All right, am I able to sit down now?
Yes, yes.
Because I'm handicapped. It's hard
Yes,
for
we
me to
understand.
stand.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, that's the only person who has signed up this evening for that particular application.
Motion
Thank
to
you.
come out of public hearing.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. Motion carries. Next, Do I have a motion to go into, excuse me, let me do this properly. Application 24-33 Zulu, Brian Remington, owner, 1118 Rehoboth Road, approximately 26.32 acres, located in land lot 244 of the Second Land District. The applicant is requesting to rezone from R4, single family, to R6, planned residential community. I'd like to have a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
I have a motion and I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0, we're now in public hearing. We have somebody who signed up for,
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Harvey Pilkington.
Yes, I'm Harvey Pilkington at 1014 Waverly Drive, and I'm here to request rezoning on 26.32 acres on Rehoboth Road.
okay. Any comments or other stuff you'd like to say?
Well, I'll be available during the discussion to answer any questions and talk about it again.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, no one else has signed up for that application.
Do I have a motion to come out of public hearing?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. All right.
All these for the same property, do we have to have an individual hearing for each one, a public hearing? I just wanted to make sure.
According to Robert's Rules of Order, yes, it is a requirement to keep them separate.
Next.
It's more work for me too, sir.
No worries.
Application 24-14 VA, Brian Remington, owner, 1118 Rehoboth Road, approximately 26-32 acres, located in land lot 244 of the Second Land District. The applicant is requesting a variance to omit garage requirements and have no garage on each unit. This case will go before the Board of Commissioners, is before us at this time. I'd like to call for a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your hands. 4-0, we're now in public hearing.
Mr. Pilkington?
Sure, it's just part of the same development. In the next two more variances coming up, and we're just requesting that we've submitted our architectural drawings to show the units without garages.
Okay. Everybody understand? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, no one else has signed up for this application.
Do I have a motion to come out of public hearing?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. Okay, let me,
Page number 4.
which one am I on?
Page number 4.
Okay, excuse me. Application 24-14 VB, Brian Remington, owner, 1118 Rehoboth Road, approximately 26.32 acres, located in land lot 244 of the Second Land District. The applicant is requesting a variance for a reduction of setback from 60 feet to 40 feet. In lieu of the additional 60 feet, applicant will provide a decorative fence and landscape along right-of-way in front of the house. Anybody requesting to speak?
Yes, sir.
Yep,
Mr.
Harvey Pilkington. Same thing, none of our houses will be facing Rehoboth Road. We'll have an internal street.
Second to go into.
Yes,
Did we do it already?
you did not.
Okay, I'm
Motion to
sorry.
go into
Just a
public
sec,
hearing.
Harvey,
Just a second.
all right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Okay. Now, Harvey, go ahead.
They'll be backed up to Rehoboth Road, and we are requesting less backyards than the 100-foot, 60-foot, so that we can put a decorative fence down, a wooden fence, and landscape out in front, and the houses will back up to that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, no one else has signed up for this application.
Do I have a motion to close?
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. Next. Proposed text amendment to the Spalding County proposed text amendment to the Spalding County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 4, zoning, Article 2, Section 202, general definitions pertaining to data centers. I'd like to have a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0.
Mr. Chair, no one has signed up for this application tonight.
All right.
Motion to come out of public hearing.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. We're out of public hearing. Next, proposed text amendment to the Spalding County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 4, zoning, Article 14A through C, and 1C, manufacturing light, Section 1403A, permitted use pertaining to data centers. I'd like to have a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. We're in public hearing.
Mr. Chair, no one has signed up for that application this evening.
Motion to come out of public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. We're out of public hearing.
Okay.
Item number 5, consent agenda. All right, I'd ask that the wonderful county manager read us through the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The consent agenda comprises of the 2025 alcohol renewal. We're asking the board to consider for approval the following renewals for retail sale of beer and wine. Patrick Bacon for Monoprix Food Mart located at 390 Airport Road, Griffin, Georgia, 30224, no violations. Shirley Ellis for Circle K Store, number 2723331, located at 3420 Jackson Road, Griffin, Georgia, 30223, no violations. Shirag N. Desai for Tony's One Stop, located at 4275 Highway 1941, Hampton, Georgia, 30228, no violations. Ruchita Kumar Patel for Valero Food Mart located at 2995 North Expressway, Griffin, Georgia, 30223, no violations. Aziz Ali for Chevron Food Mart located at 3200 High Falls Road, Griffin, Georgia, 30224, no violations. Jayotsana Patel for Expressway Food Mart located at 2903 North Expressway, Griffin, Georgia, 30223, no violations. And for you to consider for approval of the following 2025 alcohol renewal for consumption on premise of beer, wine, and liquor for the following location. The Sun City Peachtree Golf Course, and this would be Douglas Byron Cook, located at 250 Delwell Boulevard, Griffin, Georgia, 30223, no violations.
Are there any locations that need to be pulled out from this?
No violations.
Okay. I would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve is presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. Motion carries. New business. Application 24-30 Sierra, David and Donald Youngberg, owner, 99 East Mount Zion Road, approximately 2.25 acres located in land lot 029 in the First Land District. The applicant is requesting a special exception to keep manufactured home on the property. Mr. Allen?
So the applicant, Mr. Youngberg, who just spoke a few minutes ago, is seeking a special exception to keep the currently unpermitted manufactured home on the property. Per the applicant, when he was talking to me about this, he moved from up north, was sold a manufactured home by a house mover who told him he did not need a building permit to put it on the property. Community Development, Code Enforcement were informed of the situation and informed the applicant of the correct process. The applicant currently lives in a hotel with his brother. Manufactured home is currently sitting on the property unfinished, along with several metal storage containers filled with the applicant's personal belongings. There's several things that need to be done to the home to bring it up to code before it can be lived in. And in the approval conditions for this, the staff has outlined a plan through the approval conditions to bring this up to code. Conditions are as follows. Applicant will need to update the roof pitch to a 412 roof pitch within 120 days of the approval of the special exception. 2, building permits are to be applied within 15 days from the approval of the special exception and will be required to pay double the normal building permit fee as a penalty for having it out there unpermitted. Number 3 sets forth some requirements for the home itself, including piers and footings, a curtain wall, the axles being removed. There needs to be a porch attached to the front and back. Number 4, final placement of the home to be coordinated with minimum building setbacks and any required setbacks from location of the well and septic. 5, environmental health shall evaluate any existing well or septic system on the property as to their suitability for future use. 6, the exterior siding will need to be replaced where missing. There's some elements, places on it where it's missing, and all exterior siding shall be the same color. And finally, 7, all temporary metal storage containers on the property shall be removed prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy. I want to clarify one point too, that the roof pitch, that and the porches, things of that nature also need to be finished prior to putting on permanent power out there. So I want to add that as well.
What's the manufactured home density in this area? I know that that's something that they have to overcome per the code.
There is quite a few mobile homes on East Mount Zion Road where this is located, and you have in your staff report a map of that. It's a fairly dense area for them. You have one across the street, I believe, and a couple of houses down.
But the rule has to be more manufactured homes than not to be able to place it.
Right.
So I mean, is that the situation that we're in, or?
Pretty much, yes. And this actually, even though it's not in that 180-day window, this actually does replace one that was on the property several years ago.
So all the orange is mobile home.
That's the single.
The
family.
blues are the mobile home.
Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess if we count this one, because it's got a little corner of it, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's what I'm counting.
Yes, of course, some of those are facing Briarcliff, not East Mount Zion.
Sure, it's a distance. It's not the road. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 60 single-family, and there's 18 mobile homes. So I think according to the zoning ordinance, it has to be a majority mobile home, right?
I think we made that decision a little while back. But that's how we want it moving forward.
I think that was made more than a decade ago.
Oh,
We've
did we
stuck
just-
to it.
Was it that long ago? I thought we had just made that decision.
I mean, that was a decision that I inherited before coming on the board. And
Okay.
this is, what, my 8th year? So, I don't see how we could approve this. This goes against our, I think he's got an excellent lawsuit against whoever told him he could build it without a permit, but.
We're verifying the code language.
So I'd like to put forward a motion tonight.
All right, I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. Motion is denied. Next is the amplification permit request for 6220 Noonan Road, Brooks Manor Farm for October 26, 2024. Mr. Allen, would you please share with the board your staff recommendation?
Yes, it's for approval. This is a wedding coming up this weekend at the established event center, Brook Manor Farm. I guess the prep for the wedding starts in the morning at 10 a.m. The actual ceremony and everything thereafter will be to 11 p.m.
So they want amplification from 10 in the morning to 11 at night?
I think some of the prep for the wedding is going to be in the morning, and the actual partying ceremony will be in the
That evening, yeah.
evening time.
Didn't we approve the lot that's cut out from that U for an event center? I mean, it's the same owner, I think, isn't it?
I believe so. I did have the map in there.
I just, because this is right across from like the Ruck's Dairy, right?
It is.
Yeah. I seem to remember them coming and having like all the neighbors signed off on stuff, so I wouldn't think this would be any different here.
And I want to make sure I'm clear on the times on there, and I get confused with that. So 11 o'clock is okay? It's not 10?
If we say so. It's 9.
If you say so.
without it.
Okay.
And we cannot approve anything over 4 hours and 59 minutes, so they're asking for 13 hours of amplification.
I think in reality, they're asking for that evening. Like,
It's
I don't
fine.
think they're.
11 o'clock is fine on Saturday. It's a Saturday.
And again, the neighbors all seemed fine.
That's fine,
the
as long
last
as the
several
neighbors are
times.
fine.
Okay.
I mean, maybe somebody new moved in, I don't know the story, but
It's one night.
we approved them.
Okay.
Yeah, motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0, motion carries. Application 24-33Z, Brian Remington, owner, 1118 Rehoboth Road, approximately 26.32 acres located in land lot 244 of the Second Land District. The applicant is requesting to rezone from R4, single family, to R6, planned residential community. Mr. Allen?
Yes. The applicant, Mr. Pilkington, is currently zoned R4, single family to R6, planned residential community. He wants to put about 80 townhome/condo lots with common areas and amenities on the property. Typical lot size is approximately 3,840 square feet with a 40-foot width. Land has been vacant for about 15 years since several homes were demolished on it. We met with Mr. Pilkington several times since his application to discuss various things. First of all, we had the fire marshal review the plan, and due to the number of lots, he required a second emergency entrance, so you will see that reflected in the plan you have in your packet. Over to the east of the main entrance will be a paved entrance for fire emergency vehicles. There's still some discussion ongoing between the fire marshal and the applicant about the fine details of that, but that is now reflected in the plan you see before you. So that was one thing we discussed. The other thing was the architectural requirements of R6, and went through and did some research on it and came up with, there's quite a few suggestions per se in there, and we wanted to try to improve the original house design that Mr. Pilkington had brought before us. And I did have an outline, and this is in your notes here in your packet, about certain things that could be done to improve it. And as you'll see in your packet, he did present a revised rendering showing many of those features, including the brick water table on the sides and rear. He has a staggered roof, decorative column and railing on the front porch, some decorative items above the windows on the side. He also came to me the other day with shingle samples and then several different siding color variations that could be on there to add some visual interest. So we have worked to improve the architectural design from the original that was presented. So if you have any further questions for Mr. Pilkington, he's here, so
And the staff recommendation,
approval with
And-
several conditions.
planning commission recommendation,
Yes,
approval also?
yes. There are some approval conditions outlined in your staff report as well.
All right. Comments from the board?
Sure. So this is in our, right across the street from our sort of crown jewel industrial development area. There are I don't know if the land I think if you look at it, it goes right, some of the gas and power lines, easements go right through. The idea that there were occupants here that have recently had to destroy their homes, like those homes hadn't been lived in for 50 years. There's no access to this. The idea that this in any way matches the direction that we want the county to go is laughable at best. This is not a, planned residential. This is a bunch of duplexes that they're trying to drop 80 units in 26 acres. I think this brings the entire region down. I think this is, then they're asking for variance on top of that so that they can get rid of garages, so they can get rid of setbacks. That I think the idea is absurd. Like, it's an absolute no for me. Like, I'm not saying that this land shouldn't be developed. In fact, we were talking with the Development Authority about what could go there, and the idea was very, very high-end homes or even very, very high-end townhomes. This is not it. In the last several meetings, we've been talking about what we specifically don't want in Spalding County, and we use the duplex development up in Hampton on 1941 as the example. Boy, that's what we don't want. These look exactly the same. And this is exactly what we don't want.
I'm a little concerned too, just with the aesthetics of it, like Commissioner Dutton was saying. I'm concerned, and these are nice. I mean, I'm not gonna say that these are not nice units by no means, but I'm thinking if I'm gonna own one of these townhomes, one of the things that comes benefit with an ownership is to at least have a garage. I think, anyway. So I think that's one of the things that's being taken away. I don't think it, like he said, is in conjunction with the area. I know this is nothing anyone can do about this. I know there's 20% of the homes that would be renting for rental use. I know that's possible. I think that comes part of the association. But if we are in charge of future development, I'm not sure if this is exactly what we have in mind moving forward. And that's where I get concerned with, honestly.
And if one owner, even if it's not the developer, comes in and buys the entire neighborhood, they become a single person HOA, do away with their HOA, and now all of these are rentals. So,
And that does happen.
and it's happened in Griffin.
Yes.
And, oh no, we promised it's gonna be great.
I'm
And it's
living
gone.
proof.
So, right? Right?
Do I have a motion to deny?
Motion denied.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion by the board? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
In favor of denial.
Excuse me, all those in favor of the denial, raise your hand. Thank you. 4-0, motion's denied. Now,
Does this render the others moot?
That
or-
that
It does.
renders the others moot.
All right, where am I now?
You're on page 9,
Okay.
and the proposed text amendment.
Proposed text amendment to the Spalding County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 4, zoning, Article 2, Section 2002, general definitions pertaining to data centers. This is the first reading of this ordinance.
So the use
Mr.
of,
Allen, or, Newton?
Yeah, what do we?
David did this ordinance.
So
This
the
is the
u-
first time we're putting data centers into our zoning
is
ordinance,
correct.
correct?
That is correct.
Correct. So this first item is simply adding definitions of that and Bitcoin mining into our general definitions to not necessarily approve them outright, but at least have a standard and a definition for what they are. And then we can have a dialogue about proper standards for them and proper locations for them. So this first thing is just limited to the two definitions.
Where,
But it draws a distinction between Bitcoin mining and a
Correct.
data center,
okay,
because they are different things.
what's the definitions? I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to look at this one in court.
Section 202, H prime, Bitcoin mining, the process of creating virtual currencies and processing virtual currency transactions for other individuals or organizations in the facilities where such activities take place, also known as cryptocurrency mining. Data center is X prime, a use involving one or more buildings or premises in which the majority of the use is occupied by computers and/or telecommunications and related equipment, including supporting equipment where information is processed, transferred, and/or stored for other organizations.
And at this point, we're just defining these things so that we can eventually work them into the Code of Ordinances. with the
Correct. And
intent of-
your next item on the agenda is some standards and locations for them, yes. But this particular item just concerns defining them, yes.
Data centers are moving their way
That's what
from
my question
east to
here.
west and north to south down in here.
We-
We're not prepared for specific definitions and stuff in our codes. So this is the first step to get that all taken care of.
We actually already have quite a lot of Bitcoin mining happening in the county as well,
Okay?
quite a bit.
Okay.
But yeah, this part's just defining them. We'll get into the specifics in a second. So I motion to approve these definitions.
All right, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Where did we get, we didn't create these,
No.
we just stole these from somebody else, right?
Patchwork them together from various definitions.
I mean, that's the best way to,
Yes.
all
And
lawyers do that.
do we have future applications, like lined up to actually address these?
We have risk of future applications.
On the horizon.
And this is going to continue. You're going to see this.
On the very short horizon, yes.
Understand, the data center is going to be enclosed. The Bitcoin mining is like, let's just say it's not enclosed, in my opinion, the way they should be. That's the reason for the distinction. And I think David looked at this. You pulled text from other codes. We also looked at the most data centers are located in Loudoun County, Virginia, and we looked at their regulations. So we think this is sufficient to define it for us.
We think there's some coming here in this area.
Maybe.
All right.
Data centers for sure. I'm not so sure.
Okay.
James knows more about that.
Fayette County's getting 2 or 3.
It's close to us. And
We need to
know
have
in
the
Cal- we just
definition.
kinda
Okay, we need to have the
You
definitions.
will
there.
be seeing more and more.
Yeah, the definition certainly.
Yeah.
And they're water and electricity hogs.
Okay.
That's fine.
Any
Can
more
be.
discussion?
It's
All those in
depends
favor,
upon
please signify by raising your hand. 4-0, motion carries.
Who seconded?
Ryan did.
Yeah, they're certainly electricity hogs. Good grief they are.
And water hogs.
Next item, proposed text amendment to the Spalding County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 4, zoning, Article 14A through C, 1C, manufacturing lights, Section 1403A, permitted use pertaining to data centers.
So now we get into standards for how the buildings appear and where they can be located and buffers and things of that nature. So right, as of this, when original writing on this was to allow them as a,
Can we bring that up? The language of that up?
You have to go into the system here. I got it.
Just a second.
to allow them as a special exception in the C1C light manufacturing district. We have several pieces of property like that already zoned that, so rather than it being just a outright thing you could do right off the bat, that would be a special exception in those already zoned C1C districts. It It also makes a distinction, data centers, but not Bitcoin mining, meeting the following minimum general development standards. So now that you define both, it excludes Bitcoin mining as a use, a legal use, but allows data centers meeting certain development standards. Number one, they should only be located within a planned commercial or industrial development. Excludes them from certain sensitive land protection districts. It acknowledges they have to meet whatever overlay they might be in, including the airport overlay. It gives some standards for exterior walls, especially when they're near residential properties. Night sky friendly lighting, mechanical equipment screened, certain setbacks, especially near residential properties. There's different accessory features for these, like generators and things of that nature, that need to be buffered as well. As Mr. Galloway said, they are water and electricity hogs, so we need a water service capacity letter provided by whichever service authority is involved. And then, of course, the fire marshal to look at it due to certain fire concerns. I will say this, this was the original writing, but I realized too that with the PDD district we have out there, with Caterpillar and the industrial parks all out there, that this would be a fitting permitted use in PDD as well, because I pretty much acknowledge that in the first condition there, shall only be located within a planned commercial or industrial development. Well, that's what you already have out there near those areas. So I would like to add to the verbiage here tonight by adding section 1703 permitted uses of PDD, and in that 1703A4 include data centers as defined and as these standards would apply to PDD as a permitted use.
But again, all that is just for data centers.
Correct.
People can still have a Bitcoin miner in their backyard, that kind of thing, if they want.
Not legally.
Yeah, I was about to say, really? I think so.
So,
If you're,
in case
let me say-
anyone's not aware, when that computer isn't in use, you can flip a switch and it can be a Bitcoin miner. So like, if we said, hey, you can only flip that switch if you have and you have 40% metal, like, now we're getting into a bit of, hey, now if you're gonna have 3,000 computers in one room with giant, and it's for a giant Bitcoin mining facility, hey, maybe it should, have
Yes.
some parameters. But like, that's why I wanted to
That's
make
the-
sure that like,
Yeah, that's the intent, is the large
private
scale.
Bitcoin mining.
Mr. Chairman, that's exactly what happened down in the Tri-County overlay, was we had an application for a Bitcoin mining company. They were going to construct a building with no windows, and it was just a building that
How do
they
they
were
plan on
going to
cooling
use. It does not. It does not comply with what the requirements are for that area. But the only thing they were going to build was a box with a cooler that provided a massive amount of air conditioning for that building. The challenge that we had was, you're exactly right. The challenge that we had is if that Bitcoin company went out of business and decided to move to another location, that building was not suitable for anything else. It really does require a good bit of consideration for where these facilities go. Thus, the reason that Mr. Allen has put this before you as Bitcoin locations to be a special exception. It affords us the chance to have a look at the building before they just
I
build a
like
box.
it. I like that idea.
Well,
Again,
and also this, on the electric side, there was a proposal for Bitcoin to go in Thomaston Mill, a Bitcoin mining facility. That related to, however, or required electricity at rates the developer didn't want to pay the city of Griffin.
right.
All right, and in that instance, they did not have electrical supplier choice. I would also, and James, there may be circumstances where small facilities, which is not something that I can truthfully say we considered, because this is one of the first things David got hit with coming in. We didn't consider the smaller facilities, but we did research on larger facilities. And The other alternative, from what Dr. Steve has said, to me, look like enclosed mini warehouses.
That's correct.
All right, and there is a horrible-looking facility on the outskirts of Washington, Georgia. And we need to be careful with them because that would not have been appropriate in TCC at all.
Yeah,
correct.
these are the large-scale ones you're talking about.
That's
That
correct.
is correct, yes, sir.
The ones I've seen here locally are in a storage container, then they just move air across them. So there's no water uses. They are very power hungry because it's a bunch of computers. But, you know, it doesn't make, 5 foot away, you can't hear them. They're not disturbed, and the computers are still worth something even if the company shuts down. So they would empty it and it'd just be an empty storage container. You know what I'm saying? So
Correct.
That's correct.
what it would be.
that makes sense to me. We wouldn't need a stone facade and but if somebody wanted to come in and go, hey, we're going to build $100 million worth of Bitcoin mining, like, okay, now you're a data center. You know what I'm saying? You're a big enough thing. Whereas, again, I just want to make sure that we're not prohibiting things that we don't want prohibited.
You're exactly right. And making a consideration, should they come in for a $100 million Bitcoin mining facility, that we're placing those facilities in a location that can be satisfied by the water and electricity needs.
Right.
So our comp plan really plays into that.
Right.
Because the Water and Sewage Facilities Authority is looking at where to best install their infrastructure. And you've also got the EMCs and Georgia Power and even the MEAG with Griffin thinking about where they need to place that level of power within the county. So the infrastructure need is very important.
The amount that you have to pay for power in the city of Griffin renders it
Well, that was
a
what.
net negative if you're mining Bitcoin.
That's what rendered Thomaston Mill unacceptable. But there could be a distinction, James, between small,
Yeah.
little facilities operated by dark web millennials, all right? And the large facilities, like I was talking about in Washington.
Yeah.
The Washington-type facility requires a lot of review for where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
And that's the reason for the distinction between Bitcoin.
And look, it's the same with the solar panels. If you want to put, 100 foot of solar panels out, that's one thing. You want to flatten 2,000 acres of woods to put gravel down, chemicals, and then solar panels to be green, like, that's, come on,
All
what are you
right,
doing?
this is the first reading. David, do you have what you need from us to be able to get it ready for the second reading?
Yes, sir, and I will add the section 1703 of the PDD for permitted use for this and PDD as well. So,
Would the board consider making a motion with the addition to the PDD as
PDD,
requested by
yes.
staff?
All right,
Yes, I just want to make sure that this isn't involving, this is just for data centers right
Yes.
now, not for Bitcoin mining at all. Okay.
Correct.
Motion to approve as written plus the staff addition for the PDD.
I'll second.
all right, have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0, motion carries. Make sure. Business. Excuse me while I get on
And
the
then
right page.
all of this is the one Minerva. But
Okay,
it's just
other
one.
business,
It's just
excuse me.
one.
Just making some notes on other stuff. Okay. Other business. Lift from the table, application 23-06Z, Minerva Spring Lake, LP owner, parcel 239-04062, approximately 9.278 acres, located in landlocked 183 of the 3rd Land District. Request to rezone from AR1, agriculture and residential, to R2, single-family residential, low density. Do I have a motion to lift from the table?
I'll make a motion to lift.
All right, I have a motion to lift. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 3. All opposed, like sign. 1. Okay. Mr. Allen?
So a lot of this was before my time, but I did research the general history of it. It looks like you held a public hearing on this back on October 26th of 2023. Obviously, no decision was made then. The 2023 staff report by a former director recommended approval of the rezoning with several listed conditions there that you have in the packet I put before you tonight before the meeting. The property is located in the Sun City Heron Bay character area. R2 zoning, which is what they desire, is compatible with this character area. And this is just speaking about the 9-acre tract right now.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, you have 2 people who have signed up to speak on this application, if you're so inclined to listen.
Okay.
Mr. Brian Davidson and Ms. Michelle Drugas.
All right,
So-
we'll start with Mr. Davidson.
I don't have anything listed on there. Please forgive me.
Oh, sorry, we sent that over earlier. All right, I'll try to talk through it and put everybody in. Sorry, guys, we should have a slideshow with this. I think you have do you have a package? Yes, with the plan and. Good. Can we take a second to try to just set it up on a flash drive to run through?
You can do that.
Hit escape.
We're talking about this one, right?
Yes.
Just hit escape.
On Jordan Hill.
He's going to give me another one.
Yes, I did print out, in each of your printouts, there is a layout of this one plus the 30-acre one in your printouts as well.
It's on paper on your desk.
Oh, I'm doing the color sheet.
Okay.
Yeah, I can maybe
Yep,
start
take your
talking
time.
while they're
Let's-
trying to see if they can upload that.
Electronics is really great when it works, and
It's all good. Okay, well, I'm Brian Davison of Minerva, 2292 Henderson Mill Road, Atlanta. As David said, we came before the planning commission. Oh, great, thank you. Can you go to full screen?
Steve, you may have to go to the computer.
It's gonna be such an amazing presentation. It's totally worth the wait.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. And can I use your clicker to? The little bitty one, this one here? Great, thank you. Wow. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, that's the 30-acre one showing right now.
All right, that's.
Are they all together, Chad, or?
All right, just give us a second, we'll get to the other one.
I'll try to get there for you. Great, thank you, Steve. Okay.
Thank you for being patient.
Time's up.
Oh, no problem. Thanks, ladies. All right, just to orient you, the two in a row are these two properties. The first one we're talking about is the one that says subject property here. The second one is across the road. The subject property is 9.2 acres. The one, and I'll talk about them both just to orient you in the location, and then I can talk about them individually. The one across the road is about, I think it's about 30 acres, I believe. There are pieces of land that were left over back from the days of the assemblage from Sun City. As we finally got sewer up into that area, we were just submitting the zoning on them to try to finish them out as residential. And there you can see really the key thing, probably more than any, is the impact on the people that are already in Sun City. We met with the row of people that run across the top. We invited a bunch of people in that area, met at the house that's probably closest to the property. A little hard to see on the visual there, but they have a 50-acre or 50-foot wide buffer zone on the Sun City property that's actually built up with a berm. That from their backyard, they look out and see a landscape berm coming up, and it's planted. And then behind the berm, the property drops down behind, and there's our property. Their immediate visual concern from there was two things. Was to try to pull houses away from immediately abutting them and to try to preserve the trees that they see above the berm. So they're looking up, they'll look well above any structures, but they'll see into the trees, and they didn't want those to go. So one of the requests was to change our original development plan, which we did between the Planning Commission meeting and when we met with y'all the last time. And I'll show you that as well. This was the original design, and the berm is, I don't know if I have a pointer here or not, who knows. But the berm is off our property along the south side of that. And it was those lots on the south end that were of concern, and also the detention pond. So we redesigned it accordingly, removed lots, created a sort of a preservation area to preserve the tall trees that are not necessarily abutting the property, but on the other side of the berm. So when they're looking up, they'll see trees rather than open sky. And redesigned the detention pond as well to pull it away from the property line. We made other commitments to those residents as well, which was the top of the berm right now has nothing on it, it's just growing tall weeds. To actually plant deciduous trees, to create flowering trees across the top of it so that they have just another aesthetic to look at. But that group of people was all fine eventually with what we've proposed, and I stay in touch with a few of them, and they, as far as I know, they're still totally okay with what we've proposed on this. I'll switch back now to the criteria. Existing right now, it's zoned AR1 for septic lots with a minimum of 1,500 square foot homes. We're proposing to rezone it to R2 for sewered lots. So sewer is stubbed up from right to the edge of the property through the Sun City property for a minimum of 2,000 square foot homes, so bigger. On lots that are, so they're single-family lots, 50 feet wide, and we actually have them drawn at 52 feet wide. And the lot size range from 6,000 to about 10,000 square feet across the average. And then in the middle of it as well, there's the common area preservation that is next to the neighbors, and then also a park in the middle of the little community. We've also pulled the houses back from Jordan Hill Road as well, so we can keep a vegetation strip. We basically tried to follow the same concept we did with Sun City, which was not to have houses directly on the road, but pulled back and hidden by trees and vegetation. We've asked for a few variances. I see in the planning package, there's one thing that did change, David. When we originally applied, we applied to reduce the cul-de-sac diameter from 120 feet to 100. In the interim, you've changed your standards for fire truck radius to 96-foot turn radius on the paved surface. So we'd like the cul-de-sac to change it from not 110 that we originally asked for, but 116. That allows us to do the full 96-foot paved radius that your fire department needs, plus 10 feet all the way around. So it's only a 4-foot variance. It just allows us to lay out the sidewalks and the trees and everything along the roads properly. The cul-de-sac length is a request. You've got a maximum 300 feet across most of your zoning categories, which is very difficult with single-family traditional homes. Reduce the front yard from 25 to 20. We have withdrawn that. We're fine with the 25-foot front yards. Reduce the side yard from 0 to 15 to 0 to 8, and then we've added a minimum of 10 feet between structures. Again, the wording in your ordinance is a little uncertain what that 0 to 8 means. It's meant a little bit for houses that are built right to the edge of the property line, which is a certain style of homes. I would be totally fine if the side yard was just set at a minimum of 5 feet. We're designing the lots for 52. The product is 40-foot wide, so the way it's designed is there'll be 6-foot side yards, and the extra foot is to cover the overhang of the roof. But the key is to have a minimum of 10 foot between structures. And then the side corner yard is just any lot that's on a corner. Right now, your side yard has a huge side yard for some reason on the corner lot, and it just ends up being sort of a weird thing. We'd rather have the yard for that house in the back of the house rather than on the side, on the street side. So those are the requests on the property, and I'll come back to the things we talked about there. So there's communal park within it. You can see we left the green space along Jordan Hill. Basically, it's a two-way benefit, one for the cars driving on Jordan Hill, but also for those people living there, that they're buffered away from the road itself. Oh, sorry, there's the revised plan. And then on that.
Both plans have the same number of lots though, right?
They dropped by one, I think. Yeah, we lost one lot in the redesign. I think we went from 25 in the original application to 24.
Would you happen to know what your cul-de-sac lengths are now with the revised plan?
I'm sorry, I don't, but I could add it up pretty quick. Those are sort of roughly 50-foot lots, 50, 100. That bottom one is about 340, probably to the end of the cull. I don't know whether some counties measure to the beginning of the cull, some to the end.
Okay.
But to the far end, it's 340, and the other one would be 100, 200, 300, 360, maybe, rough guess.
Can we jump in and ask questions, or are we gonna let Brian do his presentation?
If you're ready.
Okay, just a question, and I'm trying to think back here, because I remember us talking about this. We did request a traffic study on this, didn't we do this?
Yeah, and it was done.
Okay, do we have any of that in here?
Now, we requested a traffic study that took into account all of the other potential traffic. We've already approved 4,400 units in this quadrant of the county. Did your traffic study take those future uses into account?
Yes. Yeah.
How did it do that?
Sorry?
How? How did it do that?
We told them what had been previously approved and where it was going, and what the traffic patterns were. So Sun City still has a lot of houses to go. That's a big part of it, right? I think there's 1,900 houses, there's 1,500 to go. And they have 3 main entrances. They've, for the longest time, come out this one Jordan Hill Road entrance. Now the one's opened up on Tiemann. And then eventually, probably the last 900 to 1,000 houses will come out on the south end of Jordan Hill, further down. So it will shift around a little bit as it evolves. There is the Spalding Village site, Tiemann Road site, which is, trying to think of what else is in there. There's stuff at the south end of Heron Bay that was zoned 20 years ago, but that's a long way away, but it was taken into their numbers.
When you guys have gotten a lot of rezoning done, and you just cited, more than 1,000, more than 2,000. What's the timeline? What do we? I mean, I know you guys are trucking along inside Sun City, and that's great. But for all the other ones, what's the timeline?
Yeah, I can walk you through them as best I know. And we actually, as part of the sewer planning, we actually have to do our own internal projections of each and every project as best we can. On the sewer planning, we have to be on the aggressive side of when we think it'll happen. Generally, we tend to be a little too aggressive, and it's slower than what happens because of zoning, permitting, all that kind of stuff. And also on the sewer side, we have to make some guesses as to what you may or may not zone in the future as well from that kind of planning. But for the ones that have been approved, Sun City is right at a pace of about 100 houses a year selling. It's ranges from 96 to 110, basically, on any given year, and it's continued at that pace. Teeman Road is under contract right now to a builder who will start development. Land disturbance permit's been issued. They will start now and probably be building houses. First occupancies would be 18 months from now, as a rough guess. And we are assuming they will sell in the range of 4 to 6 a month at that pace. It's a single type of product, so sort of a limit as to the volume that you can do. And then coming all the way around to the Heron Bay side, Lennar is building there in off of, I think it's called Chesapeake Trail or something. And that sort of empties into Heron Bay in itself, and back out to 155. That, I think they're getting close to starting land development. I'm not sure. I think they're talking about doing an initial land development meeting. They bought the land. I would guess their timing would be probably about the same, 18 months to first occupancies. They have 2 price points there, so I think we've currently projected they would sell 8 per month. That's, you know, assuming the market stays strong, and of course, there could be multi-year gaps in that if we have a big downturn.
Are any of these other than not Heron Bay, Sun City Peachtree, are any of them HOA controlled?
Yeah, everyone.
So there'll be an HOA on this?
Yeah, they're controlled. We've set up the HOAs on, we actually didn't form Sun Cities because Pulte Del Webb had their own form of HOA they used to control their neighborhoods. The core part of Heron Bay, which years ago, there's a lot of houses built in Spalding. That was us setting up the HOA. We managed it as declarant and turned it over to the residents a year or 2 ago. So they run it themselves now. Lennar will do their own HOA. They're mandated. On that one, you had no zoning restrictions in the original zoning from 20 years ago, which nobody, or rental restrictions, which nobody thought of then. We actually imposed them on the builder ourselves. Just again, trying to manage quality and what gets built in the county. The only one we didn't do, Grayson Park. That was everything about Grayson Park was out of our hands. Architecture was managed by the county, treescape installation, everything was managed by the county. And HOA, I'm sure they've done it. I think it's required under the ordinance, but I haven't seen their HOA docs, because we didn't do it.
Get closer to the mic when you're talking. Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, happy to answer anything else.
Good, thank you. Continue on.
I think that's Little Pocket Park, and then just maybe of importance is we are in your Sun City Heron Bay character area in your 2042 comprehensive plan, which calls for I think it's in here. R2 is one of the compatible zoning districts. It calls for density from 1 to 4 units per acre. These 2 projects, one of them is 2.4. I think one is about 1.9 to 2. So we're in the middle and on the low side of the density, and it meets all of the requirements of your comprehensive plan. And there you can see the zoning. We're surrounded by sort of a variety of different zonings. R4 to the north, R1 to the south, some A2 in there. There's a little bit of everything in that area.
Can you go back to that last map?
And then we've seen the architecture before, and I guess that's it.
James,
The
do you have a
architecture for
comment?
us was a
I'm
big.
sorry.
I just wanted to look at that map more.
Back to the map. So I think I'm driving it, and it seems to be stuck. Try the up or down buttons on the cursor. There you go, yeah, try to go back up a couple to the map. Couple more. There you go. Is that the one?
Yeah. There's a line there in the larger PDD, like a diagonal line. Is that 2 lots?
It's 2 separate parcels, but owned by the same company, and it actually has 2 different zonings on it.
Okay.
From, I think the R1 was an old historic one. I'm not sure where the old zonings came from.
So the purple lot there, that's Cherokee Rose, right?
Right.
We've got the lot planned for there just to the north of on Jordan Hill, just to the north of Sun City Peachtree. Do we have a lot planned like this for
Yeah,
the
we
west?
do, yeah. I'm not sure if I can get to it through this, or you have to go to a different file. It would be the 30. And I might be able to try just up or down.
What's B in? Village note.
Let's see if it's after this. No, that's the end there.
Yes, that'd be a separate.
Yeah, it's a separate file.
I want to hear Michelle speak. Cherokee Rose. I mean, the people that know that they move in, I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be louder.
Sounds like the Halloween crowd's moving inside. Ah, here you go.
Yeah.
Is that your 30-acre one, or is that the same one we were just on?
This is now the 30 acre. This is perfect. Thanks, Steve.
Oh,
There you go, Commissioner. Dunn.
Did you have that?
So that's that one. That's 59 lots on 30-some acres.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, when you had the motion to lift from the table, did that cover all of these or the first one?
Just the first
I
one.
thought it was the first one. That was my intention.
We've gone from north now to south, and I would ask that you lift those from the
Thank
table
you.
as well, if that's what you
All right.
intend to do.
Yes, Brian, hold on. Okay. We're just talking about the smaller of the two.
That's correct.
do we want to finish with them then?
I'm sorry?
Do we want to finish with them before we move on?
That was my intention when I lifted, was the first application, but Newton, you're saying we need to go ahead and lift?
Well, the only reason I was asking is because Commissioner Dutton asked a question about the
Second.
south track,
I got it.
so,
You've only lifted the first one, the smaller, the 9.278 from the table for consideration.
Rezoning only.
Do you want to lift the second one and get Brian to go ahead and go through the second
Let's
one?
do this one.
If you want to, I think we should finish the one on top and then move on.
Okay. All right. All right. Anything else on the smaller of the two, Brian?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else to speak?
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Michelle Drugaz has asked to speak on this application.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. Michelle Drugaz, 312 Whispering Pines Way, Griffin, Georgia. I'm here to speak against Minerva Spring Lake, Jordan Hill Road North and South Special Exception and Variance Requests for High-Density Cluster Homes. As you can see from the photos I have presented to you, the first photo is from Grayson Park on Highway 155, a high-density cluster home development. You need to see how these two-story single-family homes look. They are built right on top of one another, only 8 to 10 feet apart, and as you can see, these homes are stacked together with no room for children to play. In the second group of photos is a high-density cluster development in Henry County, which is 2 years older. And you can see that cars are parked in the driveways on the street with garbage cans left at the street or just pulled up to the front of the garages. Again, children end up playing in the streets because there are no yards for them to play in. Is this any way to raise a family? Yet these are the types of developments which Minerva keeps bringing to the board with a special exception and variance request so that they can build as many homes as possible on a tiny tract of land, such as the 9 acres of Jordan Hill Road North with 24 lots and the 30 acres of Jordan Hill Road South with 59 lots. That is 24 homes on 9 acres and 59 homes on 30 acres. Jordan Hill Road North is adjoining to Sun City Peachtree, and the Sun City Peachtree residents will be able to see these homes from their backyards. And these homeowners will lose that natural view for which they have paid a premium. There's also the potential of children walking right into Sun City Peachtree and creating safety issues for our senior population who reside right next door. We're not against development. We are against high-density cluster homes which do not match the rural feel of Spalding County. The residents of Sun City Peachtree and Tiemann Road do not want to be surrounded by cluster homes. There are already 293 homes coming to Tiemann Point, 219 homes and townhomes in Grayson Park, 306 homes coming to Heron Bay, 247 homes will be in Big Pine Farm, 1,200 more homes to be built in Sun City Peachtree, 19 estate homes to be built on Tiemann Road, 67 homes and 216 rental eco-cottages in Minerva Spalding Village with an added senior assisted living facility, Jordan Hill Road North and South, 83 homes, plus the proposed 1,500 homes in the Towalika Village node on Highway 155. That's 4,150 additional homes coming to the Tiemann Road area. Yes, Sun City Peachtree is high-density cluster development, but there's a reason that it works for seniors. The homes are predominantly single-story and promote a safe neighborhood experience for the residents. Families need more space to raise their children, and they are being forced into these cluster developments because these are the only types of homes being built in the area. This is why we ask that you deny Minerva's special exception and variance request for Jordan Hill Road North and South. Thank you.
Okay.
I hate to fact check Michelle, but I guess I need to know, or is she accurate as far as the amount of 4,000 new homes coming into the area? Is that correct?
Approximately, yes, ma'am.
4,400 was the last that's already approved.
Right.
Yeah, and that's in that quadrant.
Mhm.
Like, that's not counting that, yes.
All right, we're talking about this first one. David, I know this is prior to all you. What's
So
your
it-
staff recommendation and all of that?
So just as I said before, it is consistent, and just speaking purely for the rezoning, it's
Rezoning.
consistent with the Sun City Heron Bay character area, which is compatible with R2 zoning.
So you're saying yes?
The rezoning.
Correct.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that I heard, okay?
Because we're talking.
This is a big decision for us.
Right, and because we're actually, for me, because we're talking about rezoning only, that's what we're talking about, I don't mind making the motion to approve the rezoning of it. I don't know how you all feel. I don't know about the others, but as far as rezoning, because it is in conjunction with Sun City, personally, where I said, I don't see an issue with that, but I'd like to kind of hear what the other board members have to say.
Are you making a motion for discussion?
For discussion, yes. I'll make a motion, yeah, I'll make a motion to approve application 2306Z, requesting to rezone from AR1 agricultural and residential to AR2 single-family residential low density.
R2.
R2, I'm sorry.
Anybody want to
My
say
glasses
or
on.
discussion? I'll second her just for discussion.
Okay, all right.
My concern is we've already got literally thousands of homes already planned, already coming in, and I'm worried that we're gonna have the bandwidth to take those on, that our schools are gonna have the bandwidth to take, you know, this isn't just Sun City Peachtree that's gonna have no impact on our schools, you know, only a positive impact on our schools. You know, to say nothing of how bad Jordan and Tieman's four-way stop already is, to say nothing of the Tiemann and 155. I'm just concerned that this is such an extensive amount of growth over and over and over, and, you know, it seems like one more piece of candy in your kid's bag until the bag breaks, you know, like, but one more won't hurt, but one more won't hurt. At some point, the bag breaks, and right now, we're not feeling the weight of all the candy that's already in the bag, so to stick with the Halloween analogy. But I that's my concern. Again, R2 seems, in general terms, conducive, but we know that there's other things that they've asked for, looking at their plan, that they would have to get to know in order to enable that plan. And my concern is when they don't get them, then they've got R2 and they can build even more denser than AR1. And, you know, we've heard from them in the past, well, we can already build this, so better give us what we want. I mean, and again, whereas I think the situation in Grayson Park is different, I don't think it's very different. And it's tragically disappointing what's happening in Grayson Park. And I think if not checked and not overseen and not done correctly by this board, then we're gonna have 4,400 new lots at Grayson Park.
On our watch.
You know what I mean? So, I'm worried, you know, in 5 years, when we've already swelled to that point and we go, okay, now we've got more bandwidth, now that we're putting more and more money towards, you know, the other developments, you know, as far as sewer and stuff. I know this has its own sewer, but as far as that growth, you know, when I was a teenager, I grew 4 inches in 4 months one time, and my whole body hurt. And that's where we're at. You know what I mean? Like, I'd love another inch on my height now. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it all came at once, and it hurt. And so I don't want the county to hurt. I'd rather sort of stagger this out. So that's why I voted against lifting it from the table. Again, I don't think the idea of this is bad. I think the timing of it is bad. I don't think we're ready for it, because we still have 4,400 others coming. You know what I mean? This is the equivalent of, we've already ordered, you know, three meals, and the first one hasn't been delivered to the table yet, and we're looking at the menu ordering more. So I'm worried.
I think where I stand, and I totally respect that, trust me, I do. I think, but the county still controls, if we're actually just asking to rezone this, we still control what actually goes on that property. So.
They do gain certain rights as
Right.
far as building. I mean, we'd have to give the variances to allow them to build what they're proposing, but you gain additional rights as you.
Change. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
In all fairness, I mean, should we consider some type of a moratorium or something, just to kind of slow stuff down,
I mean,
or just to let us catch up?
I've been in favor for that for a while. We got 4,400 units coming. I mean, that's.
Now, let me remind, in 2017, our comp plan at that time said, build everything in the northeast quadrant, which is where we're building it all. And then we came up with and did our second comp plan, and we said the same thing again, build in the northeast quadrant. And now we're building in the northeast quadrant, and we're getting to be a glutton
Right.
for stuff. Now, Newton, can you, the point that James is making about zoning, and if we say yes to the zoning or no to the zoning, what's the issues here that we're,
Right.
Mr.
that's an open-ended question, I'm
Well,
sorry.
Mr. Chairman, the bottom line is, Commissioner Dutton is right in the sense that if it is zoned R2, then there are different development rights that attach to it than under AR1, most significantly being a reduction in lot size from 3 acres to 2. To get below that, you would have to move to approval of the special exception for the cluster development. If that's approved, then that also carries different development rights when you approve it. But you have, if it is simply rezoned, the property could be developed on 2-acre lots with,
It's a 2,000 square foot.
R2, I believe, is 2,000 or 1,750. It's one of those.
But it's higher than AR1.
It is higher than AR1, that is correct. And you would not have, you've got a trade-off here, as we have in the ordinance everywhere. The reduction in the lot size is balanced by architectural architectural controls and development amenities in the development, because they have to qualify under one of the 4 classes of the subdivisions that we have. And that's the reason we did that. That's the reason we put those in. But Mr. Chairman, that is a legislative decision for you as legislators on the Board of Commissioners for Spalding County. And you are bounded by constitutional land use constraints and requirements.
See, that's how attorneys should respond to their clients. I like that a lot.
Well, Jimmy, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think? What's your feeling?
My idea is a whole lot closer to what Ryan said. I'm ready to stop, moratorium to stop. I'm not against what he's doing. 3 years from now, it's probably exactly the right kinds of things we can talk about. But today, in the 4,400, this is just.
It's coming too fast. I don't know if we can eat it all.
May I address a couple of things for you? I generally agree with you, if I may. Is that okay?
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
This is a tough decision, so I want to
Yeah.
make sure we all get it right.
Yeah, I know, these are smaller projects, but I've had this discussion over the years with your various planning staff, with Mr. Galloway. We've been the preeminent, I guess, residential developer in the county for a long time. And I struggle with some things. There's everything that you're saying is accurate. You need the tools to control what you need and what you want to try to accomplish. The one that everybody keeps throwing up as the big bad new development is Grayson Park. That is the one project that we had no architectural or landscaping control over, Minerva. That was in the hands of the county. You've had some weaknesses on the planning staff for a while. The architectural control guidelines were not in any way followed on that. I saw it going in. I was frustrated, but there's nothing I can do. It's your county. And then when they were in, I drove through the neighborhood, and it still seemed, to some degree barren to me. And I realized that even towards the end, that even the tree planting program wasn't put into place. We actually sat with Mr. Galloway and a few other people and planning and county people 20 years ago and tried to draft an ordinance that would cover that stuff, because things like that help a community mature better. And your ordinance calls for 1 tree per lot plus a tree every 50 foot on the right of way. And they weren't installed. I was sitting in the street looking at it going, God, this looks barren. Why? And it just hit me. There's no trees. So this was, again, to nobody, I don't think anybody in this room involved. I let Mr. Galloway know, and then he in turn talked to Mr. Allen. And I believe that they've been retroactively trying to grind out and negotiate with that builder as best they can. I think it's hard for them to force tree planting back on people's private lots after they've bought the houses. But I believe they're working on some kind of a negotiated settlement to put trees and vegetation back in.
Well,
So-
we've sued in one before when people did land disturbances that some of us didn't like, and so I forced them out of the county. So
Yeah.
I don't see this as any different personally, but
So the next thing is the architectural guidelines. We just went through it on Team and Point. I had an interaction, a discussion with you, Commissioner Dutton, about what gets built there. And your ordinance has some guidelines, but they're fairly weak. They're not that tight. The world has changed probably in the 20 years since a lot of that stuff has been written. 20 years ago, the national builders probably constituted 18% of all the homes built in Metro Atlanta, and now it's close to 80%. They've just wiped out with this, their small bank industry's gone, small builders are essentially gone. So you have to work within the parameters of them if for virtually anything that gets built. And the national builders are machines, and they will try to cut every corner and every dollar all the time, everywhere, every one of them. And usually what gets hit that's the most obvious is the external details. We had Chad, who you know has sat on your side of the table for years. He watched us go through that process with them. They submitted, we set architectural control standards for them as we were selling the land to D.R. Horton. They submitted plans to us that were totally unacceptable to us, that were probably, I'd call Grayson Park style. We gave them a long list of details, 15, 20 different exterior details, shutters, better garage doors, different windows, trim around the windows, front porches, eaves, overhangs, brick water tables, planting, all this stuff. And we got pushback from them. And basically what Chad did, I think it was probably his first week working with Minerva, was went around to other communities and actually we went to D.R. Horton neighborhoods, other places in the city where they've been forced to do higher end stuff, and took photos of their product and said, you can't argue with it. You do build this house with overhangs. You do use that nice type of garage door. You do put the front porch like that. You do plant this landscaping. And it adds up, I'd pick a number. I'm not even sure, $5,000, $7,000, $8,000 can totally change the exterior of a house. And we held them to it and forced them to do all those standards. And those kind of standards, I think, are what you need in your ordinance. You have to find a balance. I often see it being done, people try to do it like a Serenity where every house is unique and everything, and you have to make it work for the national builders and understand their limits, because you ultimately don't want to scare development away. You want quality people to come down and think in a quality way. You don't want Spalding County to be the dumping ground where they can put lower end junk and try to squeeze in their lower price homes. It's not so much about the square footage of the homes. They can make a 3,000 foot house look pretty god awful ugly if they want to. And you can also, as Sun City is a good example, there's homes in there 12, 13, 1,400 square feet that look great. It's all in the detail. We put together a set of design guidelines that we tried to present everybody here, but this one's kind of small. A larger project that we have coming up, we're going to make the proposal as part of our zoning to you that we will voluntarily agree to those design guidelines, because we have to hold the standard ourselves. So if you own a project for a long period of time, you have to make sure what you do in the front end matures well. And those standards, I think, probably are worth you looking at and trying to figure out how to apply it. I don't know how you adopt your ordinances and everything, but what kind of leverage you can have. But if you can enforce those across all your stuff, it'll make a huge difference on any new thing you get in the county. You're always trying to find that balancing act. People have limited incomes. They need housing. There's always that. Affordability is extremely important for everybody. But it's how to do it in a way that's aesthetically pleasing and will mature and grow well. So when you look at it 10 or 20 years from now, I don't even want to say it looks good. It kind of blends away and you don't even think about it. It's not an eyesore. It's not a barren, kind of ugly eyesore. And if you can do that with everything that gets done, every once in a while, something won't, be what you thought it would be, but for the most part, you'll hold the standard up a whole lot higher. I would love to, this is the only forum I get to talk to everybody as a group. I'd be more than happy, and I talked to Commissioner Davis yesterday about it, saying I would be very happy to come in if you have a work session or something, talk through that stuff with you, or I can do it with your staff. I think you're probably in better hands now than you have been for a long time, I think, so.
Since 2018, I've been saying the exact thing that he's saying. And I know that there have been some out of our control setbacks, but if we need to come out of contingency money to pay a firm out of Atlanta to get this done, it's going to get 2 yes votes from me. Like, I am so sick of us having the international standard, which means nothing, which means build whatever you want. And you have to rely on builders to say, no, we actually do make a good project. And then you get folks that come in and you have to force them and back in them. If we can change the actual code itself, they don't have to come in and we don't have to say, well, a condition is you got to make a good home. That should be the standard. That should be part of our zoning. And I've been harping on it since before I was elected. And yet here we sit. And I'm sick to death about it. Steve knows. Steve's on plan. But guys, every single time we have to, here's 20 things, all these conditions, and it's the conditions that should be in the zoning. The problem with conditions, as I've said before, is there's lawyer tricks to get out of all of them, all at once, and they're not hard to do, and all of a sudden you can build the waterfall on Ellis that I grew up next to. And, they did exactly that, and it was a misery. So, we're not doing county citizens any favors. We're doing them a huge disservice by not changing the underlying building code and the zoning code, not where you can build, but how you can build, what it looks like, what materials you can use, to say nothing of fireman safety. We've got houses that look like a normal house, but are death traps if they're on fire for firemen. And they have to ride up, there's just 2 in a fire truck, and then they have to make a decision right there, are we going in this house? There was a fire in Orchard Hill. Had they made the split decision of, yes, we should go in, and they were on the fence about it, they both would have died. It would have melted their face mask. And yet, those houses are allowed to be built in Spalding County. We've got to change the underlying building code for safety reasons. And I'm not against this idea of affordable housing. I think everyone deserves a house. But there's 159 counties, and we're over 60% renter already in Spalding County. So I'd love to get rid of that wild disproportionality, but it's going to require some very positive growth, and we haven't had very positive growth, frankly, other than Sun City Peachtree, in a very long time. There's been a smattering out Ryan's way and a little bit out mine, but it's been a long time since we've had, again, other than
and you
Sun City
have
Peachtree.
growth coming. We've just been looking at aerial mapping. It's been interesting. We started in 1999 looking at, I think we were looking at the 155, 75, and Bill Gardner exits. That entire area is farms. It's unbelievable. And 2002, industrial buildings started popping in. And now it's basically, if you look at that area of Henry, it's getting really close to built out. It's 96, 80%.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think that those standards are going to chase any builders away. They're desperate for the land. They're desperate for the proximity to Atlanta. I don't think a impact fee, even at the max the state will allow, is going to chase them away at all. They're going to come. They're going to build. They're desperate for the land. And as soon as they get water and sewer access, they're going to break ground everywhere that we allow them to. Everywhere that we allow them to. Our schools are ranked 170th in the state, and yet we've got 4,400 new houses already planned.
Let's get back to thank you, James.
Now, granted, we're proposing a lot of those to be active adult for that reason. Still,
Right,
yeah.
right.
What has to happen now? The options, on the table right now, we have
Right now,
a motion
looking
to approve.
Looking at just
For the rezoning.
this top line of rezoning, I'm actually in favor of to switching it to R2. I think that makes sense for an R2.
All right,
Just this top
So
line.
just the top line.
that's in accordance with the motion that you made, right? We all agree? I'm making sure. David, you understand what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion on that? All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All right, now, we've rezoned. That's all we've done.
That's all we've done.
Everything else was, we have not lifted from the table to be able to do. All right,
You're on page 10, sir.
Can I intercede here? I do apologize. Your planning staff did a set of 10 recommended conditions for your zoning, which do some of this defining stuff that we're in agreement with it all. None of it's major, but it's all stuff that I do think that you want to have. I should have cut in earlier, but I would,
That is
So I need to
correct.
change my motion and approve
subject to with those
with
conditions.
the conditions.
Can we get a list of the
You're going to
conditions?
need a new motion to do that.
Okay.
aren't you?
Correct.
All right.
And
Make a
this was the
motion.
2023 staff report, by the way.
Can we,
Do I have to list those
Where-
conditions?
where are
first?
those conditions?
Yeah, you can find those.
So I do have them in your printout that I gave you tonight.
okay.
Okay.
You know what page that's on the printout?
The very first page, the top page for the rezoning for this.
So I can say conditions 1 through 10. Can I say that? I'll have to read them all out.
what's the, what does it start with?
It's the first page.
Very
It's
first
the
page.
first page that was placed
Yeah.
on your desk this evening. It's the smaller pack.
Yes. Okay, I got that packet. Where are we talking about?
Hold on, hold on. I don't got
You
it.
are
Oh,
going to
here we
need
go,
a
here we go.
motion, though.
Yeah, that's correct. We will need a new motion.
My question is, when I make that new motion and I mention the conditions, can I say from 1 through 10, or do I have to read every one?
Yes, that will be fine.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve application 2023-067, 06Z, requesting to rezone from AR1 agricultural and residential to R2 single-family residential low density with staff's recommendation of conditions 1 through 10. Based on
Okay.
staff's report.
Is that,
I gotta read the conditions, hold on.
okay, is that motion
Mr.
okay with everybody? I'm
Mr.
trying to make
Attorney,
sure.
are you okay with that?
Or do I need to? Okay, I need to.
Because they're printed.
David, you're both
We know
okay
what
with
they
those?
are.
Okay,
Mhm. Right.
okay, let
Erica,
James
you've got a
finish
copy of
reading.
them, correct?
I got a problem with 6.
You got a problem with 6?
Yeah, 1/4 is too high.
Brian, I would note while you're looking at the conditions, the proposal is to go to R2, but condition 4 is for minimum square footage of 2,000 square feet. That is R1 without a
the only change.
condition. The same special exception requirements would apply in R1 as in R2. Commissioner Johnson, could we just zone it to R1 so that you have you're assured of a 2,000 square foot minimum dwelling size? You are not bound by the applicant's request. You are allowed to consider the request and zone it to any constitutional class. And here, the 2,000 square foot minimum is in fact R1.
Okay.
And it will also look better on the map.
Commissioner Dutton has an issue with number 6. He wants to change that from the rental dwellings to, from 25% to 10% of the total dwellings in the subdivision.
That's fine.
You fine with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
It's not supposed to be rental, I mean, like, I'm not totally, but
Okay.
Good catch.
All right,
Good catch.
so I'm going to amend my motion I make a motion to approve.
And do we want to do it as R1 instead of
R1.
R2 with
I
all
would-
these conditions?
I would recommend that you do it as R1, because then you don't have to have condition 4. That's the minimum in R1.
All right.
Okay.
We'll remove condition 4, and we'll change condition 6 from 25% to 10%. Correct?
So-
Okay, all right.
So just to clarify, your motion
Okay.
is to approve it with staff conditions
Conditions.
as R1, except for condition number 4 and the amendment to number 6 from 25% to 10%. I
I'll
will-
second that motion.
No, that was your motion.
That was your motion.
I'm seconding her motion.
Since he said it, I mean, you know.
We have a
I'm
motion.
just making sure that we
Second.
got,
Okay.
All right. Any other
we're
discussion?
working together.
We're all square? All right. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hands. 4-0. All right, now, the rest of them that are lifted, we're talking about lifting from the table.
You need
Have
a
all
motion.
of those gone away?
No, no,
Okay?
no. The reason, even if you went to R1, is the same special exception rules apply. The same special exception criteria apply. So the special exception that is still there, subject to you lifting it from the table for purposes of, so you
All right.
can proceed.
We're
to
talking
discuss
about,
it.
let me make sure, we're talking about lift from the table, application 23-13S.
Is it the special
Okay,
exception?
Minerva Spring Lake LP owner parcel 239040062, approximately 9.27 acres, located in land lot 183 of the 3rd Land District. The applicant is requesting a special exception to allow cluster dwellings, traditional design. This property is currently zoned at, now it's going to be R1, right? We've just changed it.
That's correct.
For clarity's sake, if we don't lift this,
Yep.
it stays here, and in the future, if they want to poke us about it and bring it back up, he doesn't have to reapply or whatever, it just kind of stays, right?
That's
If,
my
on the other
understanding.
hand, we
That's
lift it
correct.
and we turn it down tonight because we want to throttle everything, he's got to reapply and repay.
Go through the whole thing
Go
again.
through, yeah.
So, the easy way, if we're trying to take care of, excuse me, Newton, did you have a comment?
No, no.
Okay,
he's-
the
he's
easy
cor-
way
We're talking
for
about
us
logistics.
is,
If you don't lift it, it stays on the table.
Or I guess you could retable it after discussion.
Well, yeah.
if we don't do anything with it, it stays on the table.
And you take no action.
That's the same as putting a moratorium on it, for want of a better term, right now.
We're just holding
stops
it.
him from doing any building.
But if, again, logistically, if we were to vote it down, then he's got to reapply and repay and blah, 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 to get through all the hoops.
Yes, and we don't, yes.
Let me,
just-
Mr.
If
Chairman,
our
let me
issue is
correct,
slowing down,
let me correct one thing you said. You could go out now with it zoned R2 and put a 2,000 square foot house
Yeah.
on a 2-acre lot.
Yep.
Okay.
You could subdivide it various
Correct.
ways, 4 or 5 ways, and
Yeah,
have
yeah.
4 or 5 houses out.
Yeah, right now, by right, they could put like 4 houses on it.
That is correct.
Remember, we just rezoned it to
Rezoned.
R1.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not
That's what I
R2.
said. What did I say, R2?
You did.
I'm sorry.
That-
Yeah,
that's
it's
okay.
R1,
Just the
2,000 square foot minimum.
It still has
But
the
it's a
same.
2-acre minimum. too,
2-acre minimum, that's
Right, but it
correct.
still has the same lot width, and I just did quick math. You could conceivably have 5 lots subdivided off there, all fronting Jordan Hill Road right now.
I don't. So it's 9.3 acres, 9.27, and if it's a minimum of 2 acres each, you could only get 4, right?
Maybe, I did it by lot width, because I'm thinking with the extra depth, you would get the acres, but you gotta go by the lot width across the frontage on Jordan Hill. I think you might be able to squeeze in 5, but 4 or 5.
But this will be under the minimum, so yeah, 4.
okay, so I think really and truly what we want to do is not lift. I'm looking,
I think that's in everybody's interest. to be honest.
all right, somebody got a different opinion? All right, let me just, do I have a motion to lift application 23-13S Minerva Spring Lake LP owner, parcel 23904-062? All right, nothing. All right, that stays on the table. Do I have a motion to lift application 23-11V, Minerva Spring Lake LP owner, parcel 23904-062? All right, continuing to stay on the table. Do I have a motion to lift from the table application 23-11AV, Minerva Spring Lake LP owner, parcel 23904-062? All right. That continues to stay on the table. Do I have a motion to lift from the table to consider the approval of Minerva's master plan and property located at parcels 244-0211A and 244-02011?
Mr. Chairman, just real quick, this is now considering Jordan Hill South and the 30-acre piece.
Okay. I don't have a motion. All right, it will continue to stay on the table.
Then the other two become moot. Is that correct, Mr. Newton?
I'm sorry.
Then the other two
we just have to-
become moot?
That, pretty much, that's correct.
All right, is there any motion to lift from the table 23-14 Sierra, Minerva Spring Lake, LP, owner parcels 244-02011A and 244-0211? All right. That continues to stay. Is there any motion to lift from the table application 23-12V, Minerva Spring Lake LP, owner parcels 244-02011A and 244-0211? Okay. All right. Is there any other actions here?
No, sir.
Got an
Thank you,
executive?
Brian. We appreciate you
Okay.
coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Mr. Chairman,
And
could I?
I hope
And
the
Brian,
rezoning.
just let you know, we're want to see the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
That's important to us.
Yeah.
You have an expertise and some stuff you've already designed to do. Chad knows how to help do that, to send it to us and for us to be able to review and be
Sure.
able to pull that in.
Great. Can I ask what the best venue is? I know you can only meet in maximum groups of 2. Would there be 2 people that might be a lead group that I would, James and one other, or just you and you can rotate?
Gwen. How about James and Gwen?
She's not here.
Yeah,
Because we work so well together.
yeah. That's
Okay.
our subject matter experts as far as we're concerned to do this.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. I'll-
we
I'll
want that,
communicate
we
directly.
want that raising the bar.
Right.
Because then we'll have developers like you that know they can build a phase 1 through 4 and know that phase 1 is gonna still retain its value by the time they get to 4, that nobody else is gonna come in and build trash and go, well, now I can't sell any of this. So,
It's critical on big ones, but a lot of stuff you see in the county are little one-off deals, like, with, 26 acres, where somebody's just gonna knock it out and not care in the long run. But, yeah,
Right.
when you have a lot of land, the front end matters a lot.
right.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Mr.
All right.
Chairman, could,
Item number
Wait a
8,
minute, he's got-
executive, oh.
do y'all have, you can go ahead and do executive session.
All right, item number 8, executive
There's not
session.
one.
There's no need for an executive session this
Give
evening.
me a heart attack now, come on, y'all.
Mr. Chairman, before you adjourn, very briefly, I want to follow up with what Mr. Davison had to say. And we learned long ago that square footage of a house does not mean a quality of development.
We agree.
That is the reason we imposed the requirement that if you wanted to go from having a house on 2 acres, you had to comply with what we call the special exception subdivision requirements. Now, keep in mind, that was done 25 years ago. Now, what I would like to see, and let me back up, we have talked about raising the bar, but it has been an amorphous concept. From the staff's perspective, we have to define what that means, and those definitions have to come from you. Now, and that has been hampered without question with turnover in the staff. I think it would be extremely useful to see what Minerva is imposing on its purchasers of property when you sell to see what those architectural and aesthetic design standards are, for you to make a decision as to whether that constitutes raising the bar. And at least that is a starting point to add to, I suspect, add significantly to what is already in the ordinance.
What?
That's to me, that's a part of it, but I like getting into the nitty gritty, like no PVC PEX pipe, like using, pressure treated wood, not just random bent logs you got from Home Depot, and you know what I'm saying, like architectural shingles as opposed to builder shingles, this kind of stuff.
And James, you can add those.
Yep.
But we
And I'm
need to
chomping at the
have,
bit to do so.
we need to have the direction.
There it is.
When you go home tonight and remove your Knights Templar costume, again, this is something I asked in January when I made the presentation to be renewed.
You did.
Give us instructions to what you want to see. Okay?
Okay. Now, I would like for the board to think about, we talked about moratorium. We need to come up with a hard position. Do we need to do something to slow this thing down? And is moratorium kind of what we're looking for? Do we want to just continue to deny?
Moratorium might be too strong of a word.
It is.
But maybe a moratorium on anything more than 10 acres or something. We don't want to stop
No, we don't.
somebody from building,
So,
splitting their
everybody
mom's
needs to
lot or
think through
something.
that,
Right.
David. You need to
Yeah.
come back and
Yes,
probably
agree.
email us or
larger
talk to
stuff.
us about, hey, maybe at a workshop, hey, here's some ways we can slow this thing down on the big picture and still allow people who want to build single houses or something out on a piece of property by themselves without getting involved in it. So think through that.
We gotta think
and-
about property taxes too, how this affects us overall. I'm just saying, we gotta think about that.
It cost us 1 point.
Saying.
You're gonna have a
1.16 per
slower
dollar raise.
agenda.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, you're gonna have a slower agenda in December. You're gonna have a heavy one for November, given what P and Z has tomorrow night, next Tuesday. But in December, it's gonna be slower, and usually your other agenda's slow. That would be an excellent time to have Minerva come and present what they are requiring from these other developers, these other purchasers, for you to begin the process. And that would be time better spent than having a blanket moratorium.
If we could get the guys from, like Cherokee County that redid theirs, 6, 8 years ago. It's been longer than that, it's been 10 years now. Because they changed the building material requirements. I mean, they get into the nitty-gritty. And, since then, they've had not only some of the highest growth in the state, but it's all been the highest end stuff. It's all like they have the highest average house value in the state. You know what I mean? Like, we need some of that.
Whoop. Okay, let's plan on 18th and having some stuff done. Okay.
He got something.
I will get stuff to you much earlier than that. I know you're talking about a unified 5-person meeting, but.
Yeah. We'll chat beforehand.
Cool, thank you. All right, let's go around for,
Nothing on my end.
I've got an update. I talked with some of the church historical folks today from Salt Lake City. They've sent me essentially the form to fill out about what we would like to see from their historical documents and what we want to do, and also a list of spots. Who do you think should come? Who would you like to come? So that's where I'm at now. it's pretty easy to check the boxes on, yeah, we'd love to see all these different resources you have to offer and what you can help Spalding County with. But I'm going to put your name down.
Okay.
I'm going to put Gwen's
And I
name
will still
down.
be able to go, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, but we need to think about who else. I was thinking, Diode Amin, some of our other, African American thought
Yes,
leaders.
not just commissioners.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to invite Dr. Ledbetter to come because he needs to sort of see logistically where these things are going to come from and what's going on, how we're going to use the resources. So,
Good.
but if y'all are interested,
Yes.
we wanna
Please
add-
continue to push on this. We are interested, all right?
I'm talking with them about the logistics of the trip, and when I spoke with them last, it was we would like to fly out the visitors, but that might have been 3 or 4 people as
Right,
opposed to 8 or
right.
9. So we might need to use some of the training money or whatever to fly some.
Do I have training money?
Because I mean it's kind of the same thing.
Do I have
It's not ACCG, but like
I'll borrow some of Ryan's training money.
Oh, okay, anything else, sir?
no, that's it.
All right,
Just
Vice
that.
Chair?
I'm good. Thank you.
A couple of things, want to say thank you to Dr. Ledbetter and to Commissioner Dutton for yesterday. I appreciate that. Today, we went and
Oh, that's right, yes.
went to the CI
Yes,
to
that's
have
right.
a session with volunteers. I didn't know that the CI even had volunteers working out there. Turns out that it is a mostly ministerial stuff coming in and talking to, and helping and teaching the inmates. Very beneficial.
Yes, it
I think
was.
it was really well done.
Yes.
It was just a surprise to me. Commissioner Johnson and the deputy county manager went out there with that. And this is Susan's last day, I understand. So we want to say thank you to you for all your work you have done with us. We appreciate it. It has not been easy in some regards, and we truly thank you for everything that you have done and wish you the best in the future. All right, anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. We're adjourned. Thank you.
County manager, I need to get this back to you as well.